The crypto revolution is happening as we speak. And the people that are building this stuff are the most competent and inspiring that we have ever met. If you're curious about DAOs, DeFi, NFTs, Web3, this is the place to be. The guest of the day is SV2 with a green heart from JPEGVault, the NFT DAO by the people for the people. As a JPEG token holder, you own part of the DAO and the NFTs that it holds. So this is a way for you to own some of the most exclusive NFTs without having to buy them yourself. Every time an NFT gets sold, the JPEG holders will share the profit. And every time the JPEG token gets bought or sold, part of that transaction will go towards the purchases of new NFTs. We heard about this project from a great friend of ours, and we are super stoked to hear more.
Take ketamine and go into crypto. I think that's the key takeaway from this hour.
We are Boy and Badger, two turbo artists on an adventure in the wild Web3. The DAOs are in the house. Let it rip.
It all started with a guy knowing other guys in a place that led us to this podcast today. So today we're talking to SV2 with a green heart. You're one of the co-founders of JPEGVault. Thank you so much for joining this hour of Boy and Badger talking about Web3 and crypto. How are you, man?
It's my pleasure. I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Even more so now that there are some other acquaintances in common. That adds a little bit of another layer of mystery around this whole thing. I'm hooked already, and it hasn't even started.
I was a little bit worried because I saw a tweet of yours saying, first lesson of building a crypto business, distrust everyone who reaches out to you. Only trust people you reach out to. So many scammers. So I was like,
man, it's nuts. It's nuts. Like every day, I'm not even talking about Discord because we're all going through the same struggle, founder or not. When you're on Discord, you just get reached out to if you're in like NFT servers. But on Telegram, when you start and I'm actually super excited to talk about this, to share the load with other people.
Yeah.
When you start being listed on like DappRadar and CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, there are all these people who come to your Telegram and who target the founders and the devs and who are like offering you various services. It's really hard to know who to trust. And I've actually met some very interesting guys who reach out to me this way, but 95% of the people who did were just like outright scammers, and yeah, it's really hard to trust anyone. So my co-founder and I just kind of decided we're gonna distrust everyone and not engage with them. And if someone is just persistent enough or just shows us that they have good faith, then we'll see what we can do. I trust you guys.
Well, thank you. And I think we've seen the same in the areas where we move around in the Web3 and crypto space. People are always very keen on dropping that first comment, being very eager to contribute, get tokens, but when push comes to shove and they're actually gonna work for their contribution, they disappear very quickly.
Yeah.
Usually.
I'm gonna hover here a little bit. I'm kind of stoked to get into to hear more about JPEGVault, but before that, I just gotta like bite this this interesting thread that we have here, which is the trust part. Have you learned any, like, do you have any what they call it, rules of thumb, like any heuristics for like something that you noticed, or do you have you developed any intuition on which people are like playing scammers? Do you see any patterns?
I don't know about patterns because I think patterns change as the industry evolves. like people just do something that works until it doesn't anymore, and then they move on to the next pattern. So I'm not sure if it's the right framework to approach this. But one thing that I've done to prevent this is because we really have a community-driven approach in how we want to build this project and bring it forward. And so now anyone that reaches out to me and says, hey, you should do this and I want to do that, I want to help build a community, give me $500 and I'll help you do that. I tell them, hey, if you're really interested in the project, join the community, join our Discord, and show us what you got, what you can do, and we'll take it from there. And there will be jobs available for the people from the community. So I don't know how to identify them, but we've set up this sort of screening process to make sure that we keep the 1 or 2 or 3% of people who actually care about what we're doing and want to get involved, and not just like scam us off a few.
Awesome. I have a, like, I don't believe in this like, what do you call it, like permissionlessness necessarily always. Most of the people that I've gotten to know, for example, you here, we have a common friend of a common friend, or like there's usually some type of like in real world acquaintance or kind of trust verification that is going on behind the scenes, even though you don't notice it. And I think it's the same with most of the kind of dev teams that are building stuff really closely together, that there must be some type of social layer outside of everything that's on the chain as well.
Yeah, there has to be. There has to be. That's the tricky thing. Like we want to do on-chain trust, but it can't really exist. It's like I'm in the real estate business in the real world, and every time I talk about my interest in blockchain, people are like, "Oh my God, the blockchain is gonna make a lot of professions disappear." Like we have notaries in France, where I am, who basically say, all right, this transactions exactly happened, and people think that this can just happen on a blockchain and you don't need these people anymore. But the human layer is one of the key aspects of blockchain. It doesn't exist, like you can't do everything in a permissionless manner, like you said. So yeah, completely agree with you.
Just wait until everyone is trying to do everything with processes, and then they will understand why humans execute processes, because a process will never be as good as it is on paper. For example, you're always going to need the human element, as you say.
Yeah, 100%. I'm always interested in like meta-humans or like transhumans. When we start becoming cyborgs and I've lost my. Yeah. Anyway, there are some people who are
cyborgs.
When you start adding robotics and artificial intelligence to humans. There's a term, but I can't.
I guess like transhumanism, like we understand what you mean, at least.
Transhumanism, exactly.
A human with an iPhone.
Yeah, and then a human and an iPhone in their brain.
Yeah.
Like when you start adding some crazy stuff that you can see in Black Mirror and whatever, some people are scared about what happens and about like computers taking over, but one of the key aspects for me of all this is just consciousness, and there's no consciousness in blockchain, there's no consciousness in robots for now, and like that's basically what differentiates us and what makes us needed in all of these processes. So yeah.
Have you heard about the extended mind theory?
No.
It's for me it feels very like empirically true, but it's kind of difficult to do anything with it. But the way that it kind of states is that all the things that you use, for example, if you use an iPhone, like part of your mind is like within that, like in cooperation with the cell phone, for example. Me who played the hockey as a kid, this is very true. I can feel the stick and I can feel it being part of me, even though it isn't me. So all the tools that we learn how to use as humans, you know, if you use them closely and if they're needed for you and for your survival, you will develop some type of consciousness of that thing. If you lose your phone, it's not just that you lose your ability to like call people. It feels like some part of you is lost because you have kind of put a lot of memories, all your like productivity might be there. Maybe some friends who you can only access through a number, and now you can't, you know, now they're lost forever. So it's like part of yourself that is in the tools that you use.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I never heard that.
Yeah. The same with friends, kind of. You know, some friends can bring out memories that you didn't even know that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. Okay.
Fascinating.
So let's move into. Okay, you go.
I just wonder if you, what would be the first limb that you would exchange for robot parts? That's my question.
I don't know. I'm really interested in what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink. I don't think I'd be
So
willing to
crazy.
exchange, but I would definitely love to be a guinea pig when it comes to interface with computers.
As long as it's on the blockchain.
It depends, because I would definitely like to keep some of my thoughts in my head and not necessarily be accessible to everyone. Oh,
Yeah, of course. Of course. You don't want an open ledger with your darkest secrets.
yeah, exactly. There's not that many of those, but it's still some things are better in our minds than they would be in the open world.
Of course. So SV2. What was your aha moment when it comes to Web3 and crypto in general? When did it appear to you that this is something that you want to dive deeper into, and that ultimately led you to create this project of yours?
There's been a few aha moments. The first one was when a friend of mine turned me on to Ether in 2017. He always knew that I was interested in just investing, and I did Forex and I did stocks. And I also did online poker, which was an important part because it teaches you about game theory, which is really important in Web3 environments. And when he told me about Ether, it was just at the beginning of the ICO craze. So I got super interested about the investment aspect of it, and went very crazy for the following 6 to 8 months. But really, more so than the money, because I'm not like really driven by the money in and of itself. I was really interested in how blockchain was offering an evolution to platforms and was going to offer the possibility of a big paradigm shift, and how organizations would be built, and how I think society is a reflection of the society of the organizations that it consists of, and I became completely involved in it, learned as much as I could about blockchain and business applications and human applications, and I started teaching about blockchain and crypto more on the business side in business schools, and it just stayed there. It stayed very important for me. During the bear market, I did focus on my real estate business, but then came back to crypto in late 2020, got really into DeFi. And basically what the DeFi phase showed me is that I'm not a very good investor, because to be a good investor, you need to really care about money. It needs to drive you, and it really doesn't drive me. And I slowly realized that I'm not an investor, I'm actually a builder. And so this formed in my mind, and you know, you hear like all of these people tell you like, you should get into crypto. Crypto is going to make you rich, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't know how to invest, and if you're not a good investor, crypto is not going to make you rich. It's going to make you very frustrated, because you see people making thousands, tens of thousands, millions of dollars, and you're like, why has my portfolio not moved, or moved in the wrong way? And so all of this kind of came together, and I came to the conclusion, all right, I'm not supposed to invest. I'm going to leave that to the side. And then NFTs really started taking off. And yeah, I don't really remember exactly how it happened, but it was like, hey, non-fungible tokens are great, but they're pricing out a ton of people. And you can't really, there's not really a good way for you to own a piece of the biggest NFTs. You either buy the whole thing or not, because the solutions that you have out there have a lot of issues themselves. One of like the two types of products that exist are fractionalizing NFTs, and it's hard to get by, the user experience is not great, and there's not a lot of liquidity. And it's also, like, for me, and apparently to a lot of people, it doesn't feel the same way as actually owning an NFT. And you don't feel like you're really part of the community, which is a big aspect of owning an NFT. And the other one is NFT DAOs in the more, I want to say, traditional sense. Like, some people put some money together, they own a share of the fund, and they buy NFTs that they hold together. But it's the same thing. There's not a lot of liquidity, and when you've put your money in, your portfolio, your net worth moves up in value on paper, but it's hard to get your money back. And and the last aha moment, and then I'll let you guys react because I've been talking for a while, was meme tokens. I hated meme tokens like SHIB and Hawk and SafeMoon and all that, because they were just, for me, like very advanced sort of Ponzi schemes of, hey, you guys are going to get money as long as people come in, because when someone comes in, you get redistributed a piece of the money that they make. For me, there was no real interest in that. And some people have done well, just as a disclaimer, some people have done well, some companies have done well as using those funds to create ecosystems and services. But that was not the case for a lot of them. But I love the tokenomics. I loved how you could use blockchain and cryptocurrencies as a way to continually fund a project and a business model through transaction volume, trading volume. And so I love NFTs. I found this very interesting, and I thought, man, we should just put this together and solve the problem of people not being able to own very exclusive NFTs. And that's basically how JPEGVault was born.
It's very good, very good explanation, very good answer.
Yes.
So, what's the pitch then for JPEGVault? It kind of segues into that.
Yeah, the pitch is basically a decentralized investment fund that's very liquid, meaning that you can get in and get out as very easily. You can get in by buying the JPEG token, and you can get out by selling it. There's no one stopping you. There's no liquidity shortage, and every new person that joins the project by buying JPEG brings in more value for us to invest and purchase amazing NFTs.
See. So, what has been the biggest learning so far? The biggest surprise? Because when we look at your website, since you're pretty fresh as a project, then I'm assuming that there's a lot of firsts happening more or less every day now.
Yeah, there definitely are. One of the first things that comes to mind is that setting up a DAO is not an easy endeavor, because you can't put, like, just like we said before, you can't put everything into code, and you can't just mindlessly say, all right, we're going to vote for everything, because there are impacts on the market, there are impacts that go way outside of yourself. And one of the things, for example, that we found is that we can't really have public votes in the things that we're going to buy, because even now, when we say within our community, hey, what do you think about buying this or that, and the investment is interesting, there's already like 3 or 5 or 6 people front running us to go and purchase what we thought we were going to purchase. So we're learning how to set up our buying process or pipeline in a way that it doesn't influence the market, and there's no, let's say, insider trading. So that's been a very interesting thing to discover.
I think this is super interesting for even projects that aren't dealing with NFTs. Just this type of some type of information that is key for the kind of survival of the DAO. And it seems that in some sense you kind of have to delegate or trust or not share all the information with everyone at all times, at least not like freely.
Yeah.
Is this like, how did you actually solve the buying process in the end? I'm guessing that some type of information will be like, someone will have to take a decision without including everyone all the time.
Yeah, we're gonna add a little bit of a black box to this process, and the way it's basically going to work is we're gonna have 2 groups of people. First off, we're most likely only going to take in tips from our holders, because it helps us make sure that everyone who's involved in the buying process is aligned in their incentive, and because if you open it up to everyone's just going to come in and pump their own bags, and it's just not going to be interesting, and you're not going to have a very interesting conversation. So we're going to have basically 2 groups of people, people who hold the token, and people who are advisors who will hold the token as well. And these people will hit us with buying opportunities that we will in turn research and vet or not. And once we have vetted it as an interesting project, we will likely put it to a vote to the rest of the community, who will decide if yes or no we want to get into that collection or that NFT project. And if they decide that it is interesting, and we'll do that in a semi-on-chain manner, also because we want to optimize a little bit. It's not really easy to run a DAO on the Ethereum blockchain right now, so we're probably going to do this through snapshot votes in a way that's going to be cost efficient. And when people say yes, we will likely only declare it publicly after the fact, after having gotten into a project in a significant manner.
I think this is it sounds like a very smart way to do it. How did you come up with it? It's like very specific questions now, but I can see, since me and Drunk Boy are involved in a decentralized incubator, it's a similar kind of process that all the information is valuable, but the more information that can be shared in a good way, it's good for the project. So how did you actually, like, who came up with this?
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've been the one thinking about it the most, and so, but it's definitely not just me. It has a lot to do with people in the community raising their concerns, and me and Nuclear Cheese Guy taking the notes had a few conversations about it, and basically the goal was to find a solution that was that allowed for at least a significant level of decentralization, meaning I wouldn't be the one or the only one making decisions, or people from the core community will not be making all the decisions either, but also doing it in a way that makes this organization efficient. Because like right now it's pretty easy. We have 1,200 followers on Twitter, we have 500 people in our Discord. There are, I think, about 45 holders who are verified on the Discord. So it's manageable, and we could very well just do it as a raise your hand to vote for us purchasing this or not, and it would work. But as we grow and as we kick off more important marketing and have more people involved in the community, we want this to be as community driven as possible.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tricky one, as Badgerton said, and as you said as well. It's that's why Friends with Benefit exist. There's a lot of value behind closed doors that people want to get into.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
There's a social token called Friends with Benefits.
Yeah, not the other kind
You
of
got me confused. You got me
benefit.
confused for a bit. I'll need to type that down.
Shout out to Friends with Benefits. Please talk to us as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they in
later.
essence SV2. They essentially they have a community, and it is difficult to get into that community.
It's a group of builders, as I understand it. So I think you would fit in well. That they have similar values, I believe, as you, and they would like to experiment, try around with NFT projects, like social tokens, stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll check it out.
Okay, so going back to the NFTs, I'm gonna ask you some hard questions now, if that's okay.
Please.
What's your favorite NFT that you own in JPEGVault?
It's a tricky one because one of the first one that comes to mind is, and it did in an AMA on Twitter yesterday, is Gutter Dog, because I've been a big fan of the Gutter community. I think they're doing a good job of taking themselves seriously and not taking themselves too seriously at the same time.
Yeah.
And capturing what the community is all about in this space. We're talking with Fang Gang yesterday, and I love these guys. I love their art. I love what they're doing. Probably my if I had to pick one NFT and just hold it forever, it would probably be Superlative Secret Society. It's resonated for me, with me for ever since I stumbled on it. So that'll be mine.
Would you sell it if the community wants to?
Would I sell it if the community wants to? Our community, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you can get attached, emotionally attached to your belongings. And if you co-own, some NFTs, I'm wondering if you can get sad. I really like this one.
You definitely can. Luckily for us, we've decided to set up our buying process in a way that some of the items will basically keep forever.
Nice.
Our approach is that we want to bring value in the short, mid, and long term for our holders. So let's say we get into collection, we buy 10 items in it, we'll sell a certain percentage in the short term when we flip it through a 5x, another percentage in a more long-term thing, and the rest we will likely keep to. We really want to build one of the most exclusive and one of the best NFT collections that exists out there.
Sweet.
How does one assess NFT? What makes a good NFT? You've pressed a little bit about the art, the community behind the art. How do you look at NFTs, and how do you value them, from your point of view?
That's such a tricky question because I don't think there's one right answer. And although we're trying to make this as objective as possible, there is such a huge component to it that, even more so than there normally is in, like, for example, when you invest in a good company, you invest in the product and the service that they're developing, but you also invest in the team that is behind it. When it comes to NFTs, there's like 5 more layers because there's the art, there's the community, there's the utility to it, there is how the market is changing and evolving every day, if you've picked the right blockchain. Like there's just so much that goes into consideration. For us, we pay close attention to the art, obviously. We like to take a look at what the community looks like right now and how involved the team is in the community, because I think that this relationship is going to be one of the most important in the development of the token. And if you have, if you're in a Web3 environment and you have a team that just basically listens only to themselves and trusts only their vision and doesn't listen to the community and what they have to say, this project is bound to fail because there's another community that's going to listen. I have one very good example of that, and it's there is this DeFi project called Vault, and it was on the BSC bridge to Polygon. Super smart. They have a super smart team, and they haven't been making progress because every time the community was making recommendations, it just wouldn't listen, and that doesn't work in the long term. And yeah, so there's the community and how the team interacts with it, and definitely the utility and the more long-term vision. We're at a time in Web3 timeline where if you're just copy-pasting some other person's project, the chances that you will still be here in 10 years are, in my opinion, very thin, because you have to be able to navigate the water and to really understand the environment in which you create this project and what its codes are. So that's why one of the things that we look at is the future roadmap, and if it gives us a sense that the team knows what they're doing and if they're really going to bring something novel and keep being novel in the long run.
Do you assess that merely from material you can find, let's say lurking around in a Discord, looking at a web page, interacting on Twitter, or do you also talk to people the way we are talking now, essentially?
We are trying to do it all, but the project has launched like a month ago, and so we're still trying to figure it out. And my favorite way I would love to approach this would be to get on a call with the founders, talk to them, and I'm pretty sure that after 5 minutes I would know if it is a project that we want to invest in. But obviously for now, because we don't have the necessary standing, we can't really act this way, so we have to act on information that is available to the public.
And then it comes down to trust again, or less. Everything is about trust in the end.
Yeah, 100%. You have to, like, in our project, people right now, there's no real. We are setting up the smart contracts so that there's a link between the items in our vault and a direct link to the token. And so people have to trust that we're going to do what we're going to do, what we say we're going to do, and that's what I love about this space. I was talking to our lawyer yesterday, and he was asking me like, are you gonna trademark JPEGVault? Are you gonna do this or do that? And all of it had the threat of contentious law behind it. And I told him, yeah, no, like all of these things that you do in the traditional world, and all the due diligence that you do because you're afraid that someone is gonna fuck with you, don't feel like they exist in this space. But you can't do too many of it.
There's yeah, I see what you mean. There's like a trap with if you don't take any risk at all, or if you like waste all your time trying to avoid ever getting burnt, then like you're limiting your upside as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking a risk might be the best thing that you ever done, as long as you know and understand that, yeah, sometimes this is not going to work, and no one gets, you know, bummed out by that.
Yeah, 100%. In my own experience of being an entrepreneur, it all comes down to intuition. And you have to find the right balance between trusting your intuition and listening to the people around you, and just going with it and taking risks, taking somewhat calculated risks, like you said, to not get burned out. But yeah, and I think that's what the best entrepreneurs do. It's first principles thinking and listening to their intuition and going for it.
Yeah, it's a little bit like building a parachute while you have already jumped out of an airplane.
Yeah, exactly. And this image has never been more true than it is in the crypto space, because things go so fucking fast. It's insane. It's insane.
It's like one way that I assess people, no, but like projects. If they have too many answers, I'm just assuming that they're like not honest, because there's no way that you will have all the answers when you're just starting out.
Possible. And that's actually, I love that you raised this, because from the start, we've been super transparent with our community, and they ask us like, what do you have planned for this or that? And when we know, we do tell them. And when we don't, we're like, hey, we're all in the same boat. This is very novel, and we're just getting started, so we don't know everything. But trust us, we're going to do everything that we can to figure it out, and we will figure it out together. And if you've spent any time on our Discord, people are, I have a feeling that some people in our community are just as involved in the project as we are, or like maybe not in the work that they put in, but in at least like mentally and emotionally. And I think that has a lot to do with it, because if you don't know everything and you're transparent about it and vulnerable about it, people will respect it and will also want to help you figure it out. So it's super important.
Totally agree.
Totally agree. I think the this imposter syndrome that everyone has in a lot of different settings in life, of course, manifests itself in crypto as well. But honestly, about challenges or not even knowing how to address things, I think is only a strength here in Web3 or crypto in general. As you said, it's impossible for everyone to know, and you're not going to get people to help you out where you really need help if you're not transparent with the fact that you don't know certain things that you need to know.
Exactly. If you pretend that you know, and then when push comes to shove, it turns out that you don't, people are going to calm down on you hard.
Yeah, for sure.
This is like I'm learning so much about communication by being online in Discords. I'm feeling like I'm becoming a better person, like in relationships and everything. Because all these things, it feels silly when we're saying them, because it's truths that have been told over and over again. I can like hear my mom saying it to me, you know. Just be honest and like tell people how you feel and stuff like this. But it's more true than ever, because the one thing you need to do is to just be yourself, to be able to like be authentic create real relationships, which is really difficult
Definitely.
if you're just a picture and a name online.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also like that's one of the beautiful things about decentralization is that you can't build a truly decentralized organization if you have a core group of people who are keeping secrets from everyone. Because at some points the secrets just leak out and people are not going to respect you. And you can't just build a decentralized technical infrastructure and not have a decentralized human infrastructure because it just creates a dissonance and the things are not really compatible. So you have to be honest and you have to be vulnerable.
Agreed. Agreed. Have you managed to get any new contributors onto your project since you started it? Or are you still more or less the same team since that started
Oh
the
man,
idea?
it's grown. No, it's grown. It was first just me, and then me and a friend, and this friend dropped out, and another friend came on, and then Dome, who's been our head like mod and helping out with the communication, join in, and then another person, and now there's like let me check. I think there's like 10 people involved in our core team Discord. And we also have created an OG's um kind of uh how do you call that? Like a not core but semi-core community of people who are really involved, and even if they're not technically part of the company of the team that does the everyday work, they're really helping us out and they're bringing awesome ideas. They're helping us identify new investment opportunities, and we're making connections pretty much every day, and we have in the last week alone, in the last 3 days alone, the friend who dropped out in the beginning has come back on. He's a head of product type of guy, a super smart dude. I've never met someone who understands the technical side as much as the business side as he does, and the marketing side as well. And so he's going to help us. We have huge projects in what we want to develop in the future in terms of tools for the NFT space, and then tools in how to run the DAO. And in the future, we want to really get more deeply involved in everything the metaverse has to offer. And he's going to be a key person to do that. And we have two Solidity developers who are joining on. One who's going to work most likely full time or semi full time, and another person who's super competent in Solidity and DeFi, and who's going to help us build the infrastructure for bridging over to other chains. And I actually forgot about him. I was meeting with a friend today who's a design thinker and community designer, and he's going to help us set up our community and our flows of information so that like all the right information is accessible to the right people, and we can grow in a more open and efficient manner. So yeah, pretty much every day there's a new person who gets involved in a way or another. I was actually talking to Cosmos, my co-founder, and I was telling him like, did you like I was meeting with that guy today, and he's like, who's that guy? I told you about him 3 days ago, and he's like, yeah, but it's hard to keep track with so many people getting involved. And yeah, but it's like that's as an entrepreneur, that's probably my forte, like gathering people around a common mission. And I never had, like, for the first time in my life, I actually have the network and the means, and so the company just grows and grows and grows, and more people are involved, and I think we're starting to create something really special, and everyone feels it, and now that the foundation is really shaping up, we're gonna be ready to kickstart some heavier marketing and to get more people in.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear it, man.
Thanks.
I have a question regarding contributors, because Barrington and we've been talking to other smart people a lot about how to be a good contributor, and talked a little bit about that in the beginning as well. But you as a leader and a co-founder, how do you keep contributors? Because in essence, you have very low switching cost. You know, you can jump from DAO to DAO to DAO to DAO, just do a little bit here and there, but how do you make them stick?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, and I think the first aspect to it is having a clear mission, and for people to understand where you're going. At this point, we've probably all heard about Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and so people have to understand why you're doing things if you want them to stick around, and we're trying to do that very well. Although it's tricky because the why kind of, we're in the starting phases, so it kind of evolves a little bit every now and then. So that's the first component, and I think empathy is the big thing. We have an approach of we don't really care about the money, not meaning that we're not afraid to spread the love and to help out people in our community, and I think people feel that they understand that we're genuine, and in the end it's people who are going to identify to your values that are going to stick around the most. But that only works in the beginning, and so you also have to set up an economic system to help support this and to help incentivize this and to help make sure that people are not going to abuse it. And in the next little while, what we're going to build is basically a funnel of when people enter it, they can get certain types of jobs in the organizations. Depending on what they contribute, they're going to make some money. And as they move down the funnel, they'll start making a little bit more money based on a fixed salary plus we call it variable in French, depending on the money that we generate. And so I think it's a mix of all of these things. They have to be aligned with your values, and they have to be properly retributed for their contribution, and that's how it works.
You see that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It sounds like I would want to work for someone who is like that. So it's a very smart, not smart, genuine approach.
Thanks.
I doubt that you've been engineering this. Sounds very from the heart.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's something that, well, I told you earlier how impacted I was by the concept of blockchain and decentralization in 2017. And so it's interesting how this perspired in my everyday job, because my real estate company is in no way based on a decentralized infrastructure, technical or otherwise. But it still works this way. Like, anyone who's joined our company has had the opportunity to be autonomous and to be free to explore and to grow into themselves. And with JPEGVault, I'm actually now able to bring this on a decentralized infrastructure in the technical sense. So yeah, it's kind of beautiful what's happening. Like, for example, one of my favorite stories about JPEGVault so far is a guy who's he goes by Sag Army in our Discord and on Twitter, and I met him through Twitter, and we got to talking. He was interested in the project, but told me that he couldn't really afford to get in. And we got to talking more and more, and he told me about his life story and how he got into a car accident a few years back. He almost died. It's surprising that he didn't. He says so himself. And the insurance company just paid him $5,000 to move on with his life and rebuild. And when you've suffered such physical and emotional trauma, it's already hard to really like build your life back together. But if you don't even have the financial means to do that, like I can't even imagine. And he was so genuine, so kind, and so I thought, man, I have to do something. I'm in a position where I can actually make a difference or help make a difference in this person's life. And so I did, and we gifted him with some of our tokens. And there was this community that he was a big fan of, but couldn't afford the NFT to get in, and so we bought it for him. And now he's become a very important part of the process because he hits me with all these opportunities and reports every day, and he's active in the community and active on Twitter. And yeah, that's just, man, it's really humbling to see like this thing just grow beyond us, and now having the technical tools to make sure that it is sustainable in the long run. So yeah, very authentic.
I love that story.
Yeah,
This
fucking
is
nice, man.
You just captured the whole essence of what we're able to do here using this technology and being in the space. It's just very inspiring to hear that there are people out there who are doing this without any, there you can always make money, but it's obvious that this isn't the main cause and the main driver here.
100%.
I think if there's always a possibility to make money, and there's no fault in trying to make money and having that as a goal, but the more you can find the root or a root reason to why you're doing things, I believe that the better you're going to do it in the end. Also, you have a possibility to transcend in a way, to manifest something else.
100%. 100%. I was actually having this exact thought a couple of days ago, where I was, I don't spend too much time in the metaverse yet, but I somehow ended up like going deeper into Decentraland and this ecosystem, and going through it. I was actually under the influence of ketamine at the time.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
I like to use it sometimes, not too much in a recreational manner, but more of a introspective tool, and also as a way. I want to bring some context just for people to understand. And it's a really good way for me to like reset my mindset, because I was coming off a few days of like being stressed and anxious, and I needed a full reset, so I did it. And I ended up going into the metaverse. And I realized the huge potential that it offers. And I thought of all of these people who are wasting their time and their skills doing scams and rug pulls, where they could be using this to actually build something that matters and that has a huge impact. And instead of making like 100K at once and screwing with people's lives, they could build towards building something that's going to be a lot more substantial in the long run. I thought, man, what a waste. What a fucking waste, because what you're saying is completely true. There's so much more power in building something that comes from a good place, and the money will come.
The money will always come if you're authentic and you're really, as in, you can always have bad execution, but if you want to just make money and have bad execution, you're not going to make money either. But
Very true. It's like some
That's
scammers are so good at execution, so it's just a shame that they aren't doing. I don't know. They could be doing such a good work for communities that really want to help people. I'm not gonna judge anyone here. Everyone has their own reasons to do what they are doing, but I see the same thing as you are. There's an infinite potential here, and I think most people who kind of stumble into Web3 and crypto, this is one of the reasons why they are doing it. Of course, it's money and all of these things, but everyone is seeing that this could be something different, and it's so sad to see these people they don't have this kind of the intuition isn't really ready when you're new, so you might not be able to separate obvious scammer or even like very skilled scammer from other type project who is early stage.
Exactly. Man, I've fallen into a scam even recently. I did fall into a few scams in 2017, and again not so long ago. So it's there are some very, very skilled people out there, and if only honestly, if you're a scammer and want to put your good execution skills to good use, just reach out.
Yeah, like this is good. Time for some what do you call it? When you all the scammers. Who else do you want to call out to you?
I don't know, anyone who shares similar values that I have, or that, because what I have, basically the rest of our community does too. And if you have skills that you want to contribute, and if you want to be part of something that's going to be big, because we do have the ambition of making something huge. The investment fund part, NFT investment fund part, is really just us getting started and finding a way to generate money and to start building a community. But we have huge plans for the future, and for being we plan on being very important players in the metaverse world in a few years. So just reach out, and I'm sure we can find something for you to.
Where will they find you?
Twitter, Crypto SV2, or on our Discord, just reach out, DM SV2, and I'll happily chat.
Perfect.
And we'll add all the links here to this episode. We're almost at our beautiful hour's end, but we also have Nuclear Cheese Guy, and it would be a shame if we don't give Nuclear Cheese Guy at least
3
minutes to share his thoughts.
What do you say, Nuclear Cheese Guy?
Nuclear Cheese Guy, tell us. What do you
I think that works fine. Well, I met SV2 through a mutual friend a while ago. He's actually the person who brought me into the entire world of NFT and crypto world. And before that, I actually came from that whole community of the real world that SV2 was talking about, with his lawyer and the due diligence and everything. Like, I'm deep into that. So seeing this community and this world and the way it works is really an eye-opener on what potentially people can do whenever they come together and just stop being idiots and try and really start working together to make projects and to make beautiful things.
A beautiful pitch, or like input. I have a very unserious question, as always. We were talking transhumanism, and your name is Nuclear Cheese Guy. Is this something that you want to achieve, or is this more of a... How would you go about?
My name comes from the fact that I really like French fondue. Let's just go with that.
We go with that.
I don't know if you're scamming me now.
You're making me hungry.
You'll find out soon enough.
Okay,
we'll find out soon enough.
So I guess I'll see you in the metaverse. Could we say that you're like a competitor of Facebook? I don't like the word competitor, but like in the same. You're also working in the metaverse business.
Definitely not a competitor. But I would love, though. I started. One of the things that I look forward to is having at least like business meetings, and just because we have parts of our team who are in Europe, parts of our team who are in the US, others in Africa, for example. And I look forward to the day when we can just like put on our VR goggles and have conversations together and like draw on the whiteboard, and that'll be super exciting. And I was researching this, and it feels like Facebook is really in a good position where they can just uh, integrate everything and make it hard for you to find good options outside of their ecosystem. And so I would love to, if we have access to the funds, maybe invest or even start our own organizations that will be direct competitors. But us, like ourselves, will probably not go face to face with these guys. I don't think.
Well, let's hope it's not Facebook that gets the monopoly on the metaverse.
Oh my god, that would be terrible.
That'd be boring. That'd be boring as
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
It's a very just cause. Finding, building an ecosystem that people can work together, even though they're not at the same place, create awesome stuff. I would join. I would join most things, but this is I like it. I'm a joiner.
So it's not a very big compliment, but I'll take it anyway.
No, but the perfect thing about the Web3 space is that it's network based. So you might not have a big company, but the other person, we meet a lot of people, we interview people. They might share a similar view, and all of a sudden you have all these very tight knit, very like well functioning communities that could work together for a bigger cause. I think it's time to have some hackathons on another level, not just building like random applications like hacking, but actually
100%.
working together for a bigger cause, just for a week or a weekend, and then continue doing the regular stuff, smaller level as well, just to find a shared vision.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we'll see when we can make it happen. Well, I won't share the information with the stakeholders. Have you seen the ETH Denver
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just reading that. Yeah, exactly. It's silly what some people are doing, like embracing the part of this new world that they like, and basically the profit making part, and just leaving everything else out of the picture. But yeah.
Okay, so this is a very good way to end, I think.
I think so as well.
Some silent passive makes you think, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, talking to us, inspiring us, sharing what you're doing. I hope that the people listening will join, subscribe, I don't know, like take ketamine and go into the central
metaverse. Yes,
all of this.
Take ketamine and go into crypto. I think that's the key takeaway from this hour.
You can't really go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty safe move. Doctor recommended.
If you go into the K-hole in the central land. That's a... Oh, leave.
Yeah, we can definitely leave